crafty friends, it's Trina Woodihunter here. Today I'm going to do a little scrap room tour. I've made some changes and my room is really jam-packed full of stuff. Some of my trolleys are sitting outside of the room now because there's not enough space in there. But I'm going to go in and just show you a little bit of my room and what I've done recently. It's a lovely sunny day here today, which is really nice because we've had lots of wet weather. So I'm really enjoying that we've got some sunshine today. So as you walk into my room, I've got paper racks on this side of the door, and I've got these ones stacked up here. And I cleaned out our laundry the other day, and this white stand here was a shoe rack, and I got my daughter just to clean it up for me, and it fits my little bins perfectly, so I thought, okay, that's coming in here. I've had this metal stand in our front doorway in our foyer for a little while because I moved it out, but it's got magnetic hooks, so these are all on magnets and you can move them where you want on your board. I used to have magnets on there and all my dies for cutting, but I found that some of them were sliding off and I wasn't happy with it, so I put them back in packets. But I'm just using it to hold some of the supplies that I have on hand at the moment. I've got these little spinning stands from when we had a retail shop years ago, and that's got some little crafty things on it. And around this side I've got some more supplies hanging, and then I have this trolley that was gifted to me, so I love it. It's got all these drawers and I've got stickers and embellishment sheets and things like that in there, and just it's a good flat surface. I usually have my really big large size big shot on there, but it's getting full sun, so I've moved the black one there and moved the white one to another place. I'll show you soon. And I've got one of my little mint trolleys here. So I've kept this corner of the room for my youngest daughter, Katie. This is her creation station. So I love this little desk with the shelves on top. I did have that before with inks and for a colouring station, but she's kind of moved around the house all over the place trying to do her homeschool and her colouring and illustrating. She's getting really good at drawing, but she loves artwork, and so I wanted her to have a space for her toys and where she can hang out with me and do some crafting. And so she's got her little Play-Doh ice cream truck here and her little barbecue that I can't find another spot for at the moment, so it's sitting there. I've got this rotating stand here, which I've had for a long time from our retail store previous. So I've got laser cuts on the back that I had done years ago. I used to sell those to a scrapbooking shop, and then these are just extra stock. And then on this side I've got a whole lot of little clear stamps that were all we purchased a scrapbooking store's closing out sale, all of these supplies, so I got hundreds of stamps and a whole lot of paper, stacks and stacks of scrapbook paper. So I'm looking at putting those into little kits and selling them off or giving them away or something, I'm not sure yet. And then I've got these other two stands, again, all the leftovers from my shop, but I'm putting them in here. So I've got my Close to My Heart cardstocks all in rainbow order there in that big steel bin, and I've got a binding machine under those boxes. So I've just got extra things, acrylic tools that I made on our laser cutting machine years ago, and then embossing folders and things that I'd bought for class kits. Some of this was that scrapbooking shop that closed some of their stock. And then I love these big deep drawers. Both drawers are full of family history album kits. So I think I've got 80 something kits to make a full 20-page album. That was a really big project to cut and pack everything. And so I'm going to be offering those as classes. Now moving around here, sorry, I'll try and... It looks a little bit messy because I've got my lights and everything. So this cupboard here, it actually has a top that's sitting upstairs. It was a big hutch and we took the top off it, and it's pretty beat up. I've painted it and it was shabby chic, but as we've moved it, it's gotten more and more scuffed up, so it's really looking aged. And then I put some vinyl tile peel and stick tiles on the top, just to sort of protect the top a little bit more. So I've got lots of stuff in storage there, and I love these stacking bins. They're really heavy when they're filled with paper, but I like that they stack and kind of lock into each other at the top. So I've got scrapbooking paper in all of there. My desks, I've got 2 desks sort of that I had made a long time ago. In a previous video I shared them, where they're 2 bookcases. They've got 4 spots, and so either end of each desk is a bookcase, and then they're big doors that I screwed onto the top with little brackets. So I have one running down that way and one running across. Now, they're not the sturdiest desks on their own, but I actually did some reinforcing of this last one. I screwed a long wooden panel, which has made such a big difference. So it's really good. They really just needed bracing. So I've got some lights here. I've got one more light outside that usually sits here, but we've had some workmen come in trying to install fibre after 2 years, and then they hit a snag, so they've got to come back later and put the box on, and then I'll put my light back. And of course, there's the backdrop that you usually see when I'm filming. So I've got this bookcase here that I picked up cheap years ago and then painted it white, and so I've got all my little stacking drawers that have all sorts of little things in, like this one's got foil greetings. So I've just written labels on the front, and I've got all my glitters, containers of glitters in all different colors. And up here I've got embossing powder, how you stamp and heat set the embossing powder. And then I've got other little close to my heart boxes of stamps and embellishments, and well, they're labelled for cards. There's a few cards in there, I have to organise that. And some little tools for classes, cricket cartridges, mini albums, and my glue guns and glue sticks. And I love that my husband bought these. They're sort of silicone, supposed to be for baking bread or loaves of some kind, but I find because they're heat resistant, when I'm using my glue guns, I heat up my gun and have it sitting in there so that the glue that melts out is contained in the silicone, and then when it dries I can just peel it out of the silicone and throw the extra glue away, or you could always melt it down and use it for something, dipping in that. But I like to have a stack of these so that I can put gluing stations, have a glue gun and a few sticks in each of these little containers, so they're really handy. Of course, I've got this spinning stand that you would have seen many times, which holds all my close to my heart stamps. Love that. And then I've got another mint trolley right there tucked in, and I can wheel it over to my desk. And then there's paper. So behind here I've got all teal and blue paper. So I've tried to sort of keep them in colour families so that I can grab and go. I've got storage boxes up the top there, photo boxes, but they're full with just all sorts of random things. Staples, card samples, rubber stamps, little bits of wood cuts, all sorts of stuff. Got all my close to my heart catalogues and some of my pattern books that I've made in those boxes up there. Just coloured cardstocks down here and extra markers, white daisy cardstock. These little drawers here have glitter sheets and extra bits. That's my original close to my heart carousel with all inks on both sides. So I just pull that out if I need it for extra classes, or if I'm doing primary activities with the kids, they can use those for stamping. I've got another hairdressing trolley there. I'll come round. Actually, I'll pan around, then I can show you a little bit more detail. So this is usually where I sit when I'm doing my crafting and my filming. Okay, so let's come back here. We've got the ink carousel, and I've got all punch boards in here. We are memory keepers, and more papers that are in big collections, and there's stickers and everything, so I can make kits. I've got my fan here when it gets hot. And so this trolley, I love these hairdressing trolleys. I repurposed them years ago. I've got 3 of them. And so this has all little foam squares and rolls of foam tape and such. This drawer they get a bit hard to pull out, is all pre-folded card bases, all A2 size. This one we've got slim lines. This one is all ribbons, so all bits of ribbon that I've saved and put on cards, round them up. This has a catch-all of all sorts of bits and pieces, little containers from, they've got little embellishments and things. This is organza ribbon. So there's kind of all sorts of little treasures in there. And then these are all laser cuts I made years ago. Lots of templates for doing card borders and a foam stamp that I made. And then I come around here. I really like this for scraps. So I've labeled each one just with a vinyl tag for colors. So when I have leftover cardstocks or paper scraps, I just put them in here, and that way if I want to do some punching or cut out something small, I don't have to cut into a whole new sheet. I've just got tons of cardstock there, and I've got little containers of bits and pieces. Tools here, so we've got watercolor paints, watercolor pencils, watercolor markers, and then here's my Go foil and press machine. And I've got these two, here's my bin. I've got these two office mobiles that we've had for quite a while. Okay, so they're tucked nicely under my desk. And in here, I've got things like washi tape, staples, little paper, clips, the remotes for my lights, embossing powders, perfect pearls, things like that. And one of those little Dymo label machines. So you can just punch out the letters, and you've got the rolls of black there. So it punches the letters and makes them sort of white. So I use that for labeling a little bit. What's in here? Oh, okay, so I've got all foam window shaker bits. So there's circles, stars, leftover hearts, ovals. I've got these containers that I bought at Spotlight Craft Store, and they all link together. So this has got all little brads and wooden buttons, etc. And then this is all packets of bling. So like pearls and gems, things like that, so that they're nice and easy to reach. Little tape runners. Some of these I probably need to throw away. I think they're a bit past it. Little bits of ribbon. More packets of little diamante bling. These are some envelopes for slim lines. And this is one of those marker puffers where you can sort of do like an airbrushing effect. And then in the bottom, I've just got all sorts of bits and pieces, label makers, excuse me, some of my watercolor paintings. This one here, I've got trimmers stacked up. So Cricut, Fiskars, my big guillotine, my leader one that does different edges. And then this is one of my favorite drawers with all my ink blending tools for distress oxides. So I've got one per color, and they're all labeled, and I laser cut these boxes. I've already shown that. And these are little chocolate boxes, and I put little cardboard bits in there. So I love that I can just grab them right where I'm sitting, just use them and put them back in the drawer. This has shimmer trims. These are all the close to my heart little craft jars. So I have all my loose sequins and brads and things in there. These are little watercolor twinkling H2Os. I haven't used them very much, but you can use a like a paintbrush, water brush, to do all sorts of shimmery effects. These smaller ones again came from Spotlight with the others, so they've got little wee brads and eyelets and things. And then the medium size, I put the little gems, the crystal gems from Close to My Heart, and those are little punch out bits that came out of some stuff that I was die cutting, and I thought they'd be good for a shaker window. And then I've just got little rolls of ribbon and baker's twine, texture paste, and a little flower forming tool that I bought years ago. That was really expensive and probably way more than I should have paid for it, but all good. This drawer, I've got heat guns, some baby wipes for cleanup, and then rolls of double-sided adhesive tapes. And these are all packets of adhesive tape, so when I do my classes for primary kids, they can use tape because they're not so great with the glue. I've been trying to teach them, but it's not working out so great. We're getting a lot of mess. And these are 2 little Xyron sticker makers, and that's the refill for my big sticker maker, which is up here on my desk. Okay, so this is my favorite trimmer, my guillotine that I use all the time. So that sits right next to me. And, oh, sorry, I've just got a pile of Cricut mats of things that I've done print and cut. My daughter Olive coloured those mini mermaids, and so I've got to do some things with that. I've got other layouts and paper packets and things that I was working on. This is a Kaisercraft, I think that's how you say it, Kaisercraft, little die cut machine. So I like that sandwich at the moment for just running my embossing folders through, is really good. So I just keep that here because it's nice and easy. I usually use my medium big shot for most of my die cutting. So this is a little stand I laser cut a while back to hold ink blending tools. I've got all my Distress ink colour swatches up there, and then I've got just different glues and sealers and spritzers, stamp cleaners, little bits there. And these are all my ink pads at the moment. Well, I've got some more on my other desk, but these are most of my close to my heart ink pads. And then re-inker bottles underneath, and all the stamp acrylic blocks. Some projects that I've been working on, and then I have this Lazy Susan that I bought from Kmart a long time ago, and I spray painted it. And then these are just empty fruit cans, and I've covered some of them with pretty paper. So these are my blending brushes, all sorts of just paint brushes, tools, skewers that are really good for curling the edges of paper flowers, and then all sorts of markers and embossing tools and that sort of stuff. Oh, and on this trolley I have some of my favourite stamps that I want to get to, and a little stamp chamois. Okay, if I come back around here, so you've seen that stand. This here is kind of go-to tools. So I've got my little Fiskars paper trimmer and ATG gun, my mini Misty, and I love that it's got the magnets in, because this is a metal, like a stationary paper holder, and so the Misty kind of grabs onto that and gives it a bit of weight and holds it really nice and steady. And I've just pulled it a little bit apart so that I can put my ATG gun in there, and I have several of them around my office. I think I've got like 4 or 5. So this one, I've got things like little stencils. It's just nice to hold them up straight. Again, another fruit can full of tools, and these are close to my heart Workspace Wonder pieces that I've just used to house another one of those metal stands. And so there's foam bits in there, an old mouse pad. I use the back of the spongy foam side sometimes for little stamping, for cushioning. And then I've got a whole lot of my print and cut sheets, some scraps, a mini scoring tool, my reference book for all my distress inks and markers and things that I've made, some more little half Cricut mats that I use for sticking things down if I want to do colouring, and more leftover papers. So that's sort of right next to me. And I just got this jelly plate, so you could do gel printing. I'm having a play with that, that's quite cool. Under that I've got my glass sheet. It was an old entertainment door, so I use that if I'm inking for stenciling because it's nice and easy to clean up. It does the similar job to the Tim Holtz workspace glass mat, just mine is just a piece of glass. And then I've got my mats here. So I usually have little cups in front of me with foam squares, foam tape, a little bit of glue, my tools that I use the most. This is just a cleaning chamois in a container. I've got extra markers here, so all my Spectrum Noir. They're getting a bit older now. My kids have used them, I've used them, and they're sort of some of them have still got quite a bit of ink and others are sort of on their way out. So I've just got them there as backups that we can use sometime. I've got this stacking container, I think I've shared this before, and it's got all little die cut letters, old chipboard letters, and so you can undo each layer and spread them out if you want to. And then I've got a marker case here with just extra acrylic blocks in it. Excuse me. So there's my large big shot and my cinch machine for binding. And then I've got my old Stampin' Up! Carousel, and it fits all of my Distress Oxides on it. I love it. Holds them really nicely, and my black doesn't fit, so it's just sitting on the top. And I've just got some little gloss sprays, adhesives. This is all liquid glass and dimensional sort of glass stuff. Just different marker pens at the top here, shimmer brushes, little spritzers with just different coloured ink sprays that my daughter mixed up, and then my filming arm, and I've got my new acetate borders for inking and sponging, so I'm going to show you a bit more on that later on. I just put them all together. And then I've got little cups of bits and pieces, some of my print and cut files and mini greetings that I'm working on. And then I've got baby white containers. I'll just move my chair. Baby white containers, I've shared this before. And so I've got pre-cut bases for cards like mats for A2 cards and slim lines and things. So I just label them all, and then I can just grab on the go little things to mat my cards. I just put this here yesterday. I laser cut this quite a while ago and painted it, and so excuse me, I used to use it when I only had a couple of inks and now that I've got lots more, I found other solutions, but I thought I'd put it back here. These were all stacked up in a container, and I thought I want to get to them. So these are distress inks, and these are extra oxide inks where I got double ups, and then here are embossing inks. And then you've got like Stays On, the permanent inks. So this is Versamark, and then I've got 2 of this emboss ink. And then I've got Close to My Heart scrubbers. I don't really use them much, but I've still got them here. And then I just got some favourite punches, some little Stampin' Up! Punches that I kind of use a lot, little circles and hearts, things like that. And then I've got a trolley, one of those hairdressing trolleys outside my room that is, well, I've got 2 of them full of punches. I was a punch queen in a former life. I loved punches. Now that I've got my Cricut, I'm using that a lot more for cutting shapes. And then we've got tri-blend markers, my Unity markers, just cheap ones bought here in New Zealand, and then Copics, Shinhans, and then Memento markers. So just a mixture of all sorts that are right here next to me so that it's easy for me to use. I think I've shown this before. I made myself a little laminated marker sheet, coloured them in for these markers here so that I've got a reference sheet. And then I have another one in my flip file that has the tri-blends, and it shows the 3 different shades. So this is my regular size Big Shot machine that I use most of the time, and it's got that little clip-on caddy with all the tools. And then I've got extra inks here, just a few of my double ups and some black. I've got some little Kaisercraft ones there. I don't really use them, they're just sitting there. But yeah, I've got some inks there, and anti-static powder tool and extra little glue bottles. And then here it sits on a really heavy credenza, which I love because it's really made my desk sturdy, because that desk was not that great. So on this side, it just gives me so much storage. I've got industrial laminators there, a mink machine, and then all the rolls of foils for the mink machine. So I want to have a play with that very soon. It's been sitting there too long and I need to drag that out. So this is it's a full size mink machine. I know you could get mini ones for a while there, but that's the full size, so you can do a 12 12-inch wide, I think, or I usually do A4 prints. And then I've got, this drawer is full of Stampin' thin cuts. So these drawers have mostly thin cuts in them, dies. And then this drawer is also full of dies. So it's right behind, underneath my die machine. So these are all close to my heart, Stampin' thin cut sets. And so I've labeled all the tops with shimmer trim. I showed a while back where I went crazy and went through all of my stamp sets and color matched them with all the catalogs so that I know what catalog it came out of if I want to cross-reference. And these are just some really big dies that don't fit anywhere else. So they're on magnet sheets. And then here in this drawer, I've got scoring tools, my really big Misties, and then my husband's little Misty still in the box. He hasn't used it, so they can just sit there. Under my desk, oh, there's a lot going on. So I've got my traveling bags for crafting, and I've got a mini cricket cake machine under there, my slipper boots when it's cold, my close to my heart die cut machine, and then packets of foil for the foil press machine. And these are the bookcases that make up the edges of my desk. So this one is full of punches, so that's the doily making punch around the page kind of thing. And so I've got bins. Maybe we'll go on the other side again and show. So if I move that, this desk here, that's a bookcase, and that's a bookcase. So underneath I've got big bins full of papers, material, wool, sewing stuff, all sorts. So here from the outside you can see another bin of punches and little folders, other embossing tools, card samples that have to be labelled and put away, more of those little drawers. And then these I use for holding photos for my scrapbooking. So I've labelled one for each of my kids, and then some at the bottom for family. So these I've spray painted, the paint is coming off, but they actually, my husband buys bulk sweets in there, candy, lollies, things like that. And when the container's empty, then I paint them because they all stack and lock into each other. So I've got a few of them, and then my daughter has some, a couple of them unpainted, and she uses them to hold her paintbrushes. So that's just a letter organizer, a layout that I'm needing to finish for the kids album, cinch machine, and big shot. And then around the side here I've got the box from my maker machine, and then I've got a sewing machine, and tucked underneath is overlocker, and like I said, wool and fabric. And then I've got bins here of scrapbooking projects that need to be finished, or layouts that have been done and need to go into albums, and fabric down there. These are all pre-cut 3x4 cards. So, you know, sometimes you get the printed sheets and you can cut them down into sort of picture my life cards. So those are sort of when I do classes. Little mini ink pad, paper pads, more pre-cut stuff for classes. So yeah, there's a lot going on in here, but definitely my happy space. And then my paint is peeling. After I had it all fixed up, we had a little bit of leaking a while back, and it peeled on my new paint. There were big bubbles, but they've since fixed the roof again, and there's been no leaking for a couple of months now. So we've been through quite a lot of heavy wet weather and no more leaks at the moment. So fingers crossed that holds, and then they can come back and tidy that up and fix it again. But that's my happy space. So thank you for coming along and having a look. And I'm glad that it's a nice sunny day in the middle of winter. So I'll see you soon. Happy crafting.